So, all right, well, welcome. We're quick Zoom overview, very first. So, the first thing I'd really appreciate is if you would consider renaming yourself. And so that way I kind of know what you teach, and also it's easier for me to use your first name, last initial than it is to not not know what your name is. So if you could click on the participants icon, and so that's going to be at the bottom of your screen as I'm screen sharing. It'll be at the bottom, it'll be the little people. Click on that, and then once you open the participants icon, you will see the option when you mouse over your name, you'll see a more. And when you click on more, you'll have the ability to change your name. So if you would change your name to first name, last initial, and then either your grade or your content area, I would appreciate that because that'll make it a little easier for. Cheryl, you're already all over it, aren't you? You did it this morning.
There's a lot I don't have, but I have that much.
So find your participants tab at the bottom of your window as I'm sharing my screen, and then when you click on that, it'll open up, and when you find your name and mouse over it, you will see more, and then click on that and rename, and you'll be able to rename yourself. All right, so many names coming in, yay! Thank you guys. All right, so our next thing that I want to touch on is sound. Because I know a number of you are in a room together, we can get a lot of feedback. And so the easiest thing to do is to have one person in the room be nominated to be your sound and your microphone, and the rest of you leave computer audio. And so if you click on the caret beside your microphone, or beside your camera, you will see the option to leave computer audio. And so that's a really easy way if there's a lot of you in a room, and then that way the person who has the microphone and the speaker on can unmute, and you guys can ask questions, etc., and we won't get that feedback. So makes it a little easier for feedback. So this one is actually something you're going to really want to practice right now, is making your screen so that we're able to see more than just me presenting. And so the easiest thing to do is to, when I present, it'll put it into full screen. So go ahead and click on either the escape key, select the escape key on your keyboard, or select the, in the upper right hand corner, you should see the leave full screen. Karen, do you have a question? We're getting quite a bit of feedback from you, Karen. Do you want to drop it in the chat? So Karen, we aren't able to understand you. So I muted you. You may want to go down to your microphone and click the caret beside that, and then test your audio. All right, so removing taking yourself out of full screen when someone is presenting can really help you be able to do more than just watch the presentation. So if you hit the escape key on your keyboard, or else in the upper right hand corner, click on the open square, it'll take you out of full screen. Awesome, Demi. Thanks for letting me know that. And then once you're out of full screen, you will be able to move around your Zoom window, and you can have, you can switch easily between your Zoom window and other browser windows. And so leaving full screen can be really beneficial. All right, chat. This is probably my favorite part of using Zoom, is the chat. And so while you are looking at the screen, go ahead and the bottom of the screen, click on the chat icon and bring that up. So you can, and in the chat, go ahead and, just say good afternoon, because we're over the good morning part. We're now on to afternoon. So go ahead and say good afternoon, or who's in the room with you. Hey, Mary, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dennis. Hi, Earthlings, obviously from a math teacher. Good afternoon. Oh, guten Tag. Nice.
Miss Allen's here with Ceci Allen.
Thanks, Heather. You guys are a creative bunch. So apparently this morning we didn't have all these languages. So apparently the afternoon bunch, we've had our coffee for the day. Good job. So the chat is really where we are going to be communicating a lot this afternoon. So questions, if you have any questions, if you have anything you need to share, because we can definitely unmute, but it is also a lot easier if you are able to drop it in the chat too, and I will watch that as we go. So thank you everyone for participating in the chat. And I think, oh, no, this is my, and then the last one, and this is probably my all-time favorite, is the participants window. And so we can do feedback with the participants window. And so when you click on your participants, which is where we renamed ourselves, you'll notice that at the bottom of that little window, you have a green check, a red X, and then you also have the ability to raise your hand like Stevie's doing. So you have a lot of different options there. I use the green check and the red X a lot. I also use the go slower for kind of a sort of. And so my question for you to use the participants window for is, have you used Google Classroom before? And so green check for yes, red X for no. And then if you sorted it, go ahead and use the go slower. So wow, we're like 50-50 right now. This is awesome. You guys are doing so right now the yeses have it. I've got 9 of you that have used it before and 6 of you that haven't.
Uh-oh.
Oh, it's up to 8 that haven't. So go ahead and find your participants window. So click on the people at the bottom of your screen, and then that will open up. And at the bottom of that window, you should see a green check, a red X. Go slower, go faster. All right, so I'm up to, ooh. And the go slower is what we use for you sort of used it. Well, this is awesome. So I have 13 that have, 9 that haven't, and 2, 1 that sort of have. So cool. So but this will be something we'll use periodically to get feedback and just to give you guys a way to communicate. Okay, so that's our Zoom, a quick Zoom intro. I will jump us over now to, we are going to start off with logging into Ohitica and making sure we can access Google Classroom. So let me find the right window. And here is our welcome. So everybody should have been sent a welcome email with this information. If you didn't get it, it means you may have registered at the last second. And I haven't, so once we started training, I wasn't able to send it out. But I will send it to you later in the day. So what we're going to do is we are going to very first go to ohitica.com and log in to Google Apps with your Ohitica email address. And this is where Cody's going to come in handy, is because he will help us out. So if you have any questions or any problems, drop them in the chat and we will make sure he will help you get stuff figured out. So we're going to go to ohitica.com and you're going to click on the Google Apps. And then once you've done that, you're going to want to go to the waffle in the upper right-hand corner, select Google Classroom, and then it may ask you if you are to pick your role, and you are a teacher. If you accidentally pick student, drop it in the chat and Cody will fix that too. And then finally, here's the join code for our class for today. So make sure that you have joined this class. So I'm just going to give you a couple minutes to do this. You have these instructions in your email with whatever account you signed up for the training with. And so I'll just give you a couple minutes to do that. And I will stop sharing so that you can see your screens easier. Please know as we move on, you are going to, we have office hours at 3, and some of this, I know we have, a wide range of, we have the people that have used Google Classroom, and we have the people that have not used Google Classroom, and then there's that middle ground, typical classroom. Okay, Karen, your sound is still pretty wonky, so we can't hear you. All right, so Monica, we will definitely come back to you during office hours, okay? And we'll make sure you can get logged in and everything. If you don't have your Ohitica account, go ahead and drop that in the chat and Cody will get you squared away along with a alternate email. Do you have a question, Patricia, or do you just?
No, no questions.
Okay, I'm gonna mute you again. Don't take it personally. All right, so where we're at now is I'm going to take us, we're in Google Classroom. And so most of you are in Google Classroom. There's a handful of you. And then so what we're going to look at very first here is the assignment for today and what we're going to do in Google Classroom. So this Google Classroom is, you are in it as a student. There are assignments, there are due dates. There are only due dates so that you can see what they look like and see how they show up. Please do not feel like you have to turn something in by a due date, because you are adults and there's no teeth behind these due dates. It's mainly just so as you are starting to work with your students, you have that experience of saying, this is what a due date looks like. And so that's why there's due dates. It's not to give you anxiety or stress, because we have enough of that without having it in our training too. So you guys are students in a classroom. I'm using good Google Classroom practices to set up my classroom, to set up my assignments, etc., etc. So these are things that you can utilize and say, I like how she did that, I don't like how she did that, and you can pick and choose what you want. And so know you are seeing a sample classroom and you're hanging out in a sample classroom right now. So you guys are Google Classroom Secondary. And so you can see the elementary peeps, they have their own stuff down below, but you are under the topic Google Classroom Secondary, so that's this session. And we're going to click on this one assignment, this Google Classroom Setting Up Your Classroom. When you click on it, you can view the assignment. I'm going to click on Edit real quick just because I want to be able to pull it up. So I try to give you everything in one spot. And so you're going to see, I do use a number scheme. So every assignment is numbered, and so I do not reuse those numbers. I also try to tell you exactly what you're going to do in this assignment in hopes of minimizing confusion. And so as we are looking at this, you're going to see that in this assignment, our ultimate goals is you're going to create your Google Classroom. And the classroom you create is one that you will have set up with topics, you will have how you want to get notifications, you will have your settings. So we will be going through all of those things yet today. You'll also have an opportunity to share your classroom. We have collaborative slides that you'll be able to go in, and so 002 are your collaborative slides. So when we click on that assignment, you're going to see slides here where you are asked to take a slide with nobody else's name on it, drop your name in it. When you create your classroom, you can insert a screenshot of your Google Classroom. You can do short description of your class and answer these questions. And then finally, at the very end, when you're all done with that, you can do a little emoji, drag and drop one of the emojis over in terms of how you feel. If you don't know how to do a screenshot, I've given you a couple of different options here of how to do so. And if you still don't, always ask. It's not a big deal. So that is that part of the assignment. And then the 001, setting up your classroom, that is a document that we're actually going to go through and talk about how to set up your classroom and how to do this. So for those of you that have set up classrooms in the past, this is going to be a piece of cake. You can probably listen to me and set up your classroom while we're doing this. For those of you that have never done this before, you're not feeling very, very confident right now, I would sit back and watch, because not only do you have step-by-step instructions you can come back and follow, you also will have the video. And so I would use this time to just kind of absorb what we're doing and ask any questions for clarification. And yes, Susan, thank you. Which one? Your slides are view only? Technically they shouldn't be, but who knows? When you make assignments, things happen. Let me see. Oops, it's not what I wanted to do. Oh, shoot. Yes, they are supposed to be. You can edit. Thanks for catching that, Susan. Very good. So students can edit the file. So yep, so I did not make the settings right, but that's what the guinea pigs in my class are good for, is telling me that I didn't do it right. Thank you. Okay, so now you can edit the file. Thanks, Susan. Okay, so back to the assignment. This is the document. This is a view-only document, and so this is really going to go through. We're going to create your classroom. Then we are going to look at the settings. so that you have that information as you're going through, because a lot of the settings really impact how your classroom acts and the experience that not only you'll have, but your students will have. And then we're going to look at how to organize your classroom by setting up topics. We're going to look at your stream, and then we're going to look at classwork. And so we'll pop through creating your classroom in a number of steps, and you'll have that opportunity to ask me questions and take the time to do this. So very first thing we're going to do is we are going to create a class. So how do you do that? I'm going to go back to our Google Classroom that we're in. And so if you've clicked into the Google Classroom, you are probably somewhere. I see you guys are doing a great job of commenting on the stream. So yay, good job. I want to make a class, and so I need to get back to where I can see the tiles. So I'm going to click on the hamburger menu in the upper left corner of the screen, and I'm going to click on classes. That is going to take me back to my home page of classes. And so what you're going to find is once you've done this, you will when you're done, you will have numerous classes to look at. I'm going to click on the plus, and instead of joining a class, which is what we did to join the Google Classroom Eagle Butte, I'm going to create a class. If you do not see the create a class option, that means that you've chosen student, and that's not the end of the world. That's where Cody comes in and he just switches you back to a teacher. So you're fine. You're going to name your class. You have to give it a name, otherwise everything else is pretty much up in the air. Because you guys are middle school, high school, you're most likely going to have a few sections of a class, and so you may want to have, you know, like 8th grade English section 1 or period 1. You may want to go that route in your naming strategies, so that you don't have, because obviously you're going to want a different class for each group of students. So I'm going to do demo class, take 2, and then I'm going to create it. And it does take a few seconds to create the class. All right, so once I've created the class, at this point, there isn't a whole lot that you need to do, which is kind of nice. I mean, you're pretty much in. You can, at the top, you have your ability to either select the theme or upload a photo. So if you have a picture that you would like to use, you can upload it. Otherwise, you can select the theme and go through and figure out what theme makes the most sense for your course. So once you've done that, you've essentially created your first Google Classroom. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to go ahead and create your classroom. And so to do that, if you're in our class right now, you're going to click on the hamburger menu on the left-hand side of the screen, click on classes, click on the plus, and then create a class. And so I will just give you like 5 minutes to create a class, and I'll hang out here, answer any question. So the next step, once we've created our demo class, or our class, I'm going to go back into the class, is we are going to look at our settings. And so as we scroll on down, I did ask you to create a classroom, and then, you know, share the join code with a couple of colleagues. And I encourage you to do this because you are not able to see what a student sees. You're currently in as a student, but to be able to see what a student sees, it's a lot easier if you have a colleague in there. And so like Susan telling me that I still haven't shared my file so that you guys can edit it. That is so nice if you have somebody in to test things out on. The other thing I would recommend considering is treating your class you're making right now as your sandbox class. And by sandbox, that's where I can go in and I can play. I can have a couple of colleagues in there. I can make my assignments because I can reuse assignments. And so anything I make in the sandbox, I can reuse in any of my other classes. And so you're going to see that in my sandbox class for this course. I have a whole bunch of different assignments and topics and everything already set up as a structure for this week. So lots of really cool things that you can do, especially if you know, and then being able to collaborate with a colleague is a great way to do that. All right, so we're now going to look at your settings, notification, and then how to copy and archive classes. And so these are all that management stuff that really, it makes such a big difference if you do this versus if you just say, I'm just going to take this class that I set up and run, because there's a lot of settings that will make a big difference. So the first thing we're going to look at is your classroom settings. So those live in the upper right corner inside each classroom. So you have to be in a classroom that you're a teacher of, and then you can, then you can play with the settings. So I'm going to go back to my demo class. And you're going to see that I see the settings, I see the gear. If you are in our Eagle Butte class, the one where you're a student, you will not see the gear. So do make sure that you are in your own class or your class that you're a teacher in. So once you're here, you're going to see you can change your class details. So this is one of the places that you can rename your class. So if you need to say, oh, I don't like this class name, or I need to add, section, or I need to add something, you can change your class name in the settings. As we scroll on down, this general section is probably the one where you're going to find the most things that will make a difference in what you do. Class code. So you'll know when you're in your class that the class code, the join code, is posted a couple different places. If you need to, you can, we can say display, and that means that it'll just show it big on the screen. And you guys don't want to join this class because it won't stick around very long. You can also copy it. You can also reset it. And so say you want to, you've disabled it because you didn't want more kids to join, and then you have a new kid, you would have to reset it. The stream. So let's go look at the stream for the class that we're currently in. So this is the stream for the class that we're currently in. There is a lot of comments. I've posted things to try to get you guys to have a conversation. And you guys are doing a really great job of having a conversation without my post. So you guys are pretty chatty. I like that. So that is what the stream can look like. But we can control that as teachers, which is so very awesome. So I'm going to pop back over to my demo class. The first thing here is showing classwork on the stream. I do not show classwork on the stream because then it becomes one more thing on the stream. And so every time I post an assignment, you end up with another post on the stream. And so it can get really out of control. I give my, your classwork will be on the classwork tab, and the stream is where I do announcements and, share class-wide information. So that's one setting. So I do not have classwork on the stream. The stream itself, what can we do with it? So right now in our class, you as students can post and comment. So that means you can create posts and you can comment. If I wanted to, if I really wanted you guys to only comment on this Welcome to Google Classroom, then I should have made my settings that you can only comment. That means that nobody could create posts independently. And you guys are fine. I mean, I didn't give any guidance, and I really want you to go in and see what happens. And so I'm not upset, but I'm just telling you for what things look like. And then if for whatever reason you don't want your students to post or comment, you can do the only teachers can post or comment. And these are things that you will want to definitely consider, knowing that you can mute an individual student. So I tend to live on the, kids will be good if, we give them expectations. And I know we have lots of different kids and lots of different levels. And so, and you can turn this on and off. You can make it so that, only teachers can post and comment except when you feel like letting them post or comment. So you have a lot of control. So that's your stream. This show deleted items. Well, what does that mean? So I'm going to turn this on, and actually, I'm not going to turn it on here. I'm going to go back to our classroom. So in our classroom, I believe I do have show deleted items on. Yes, I do. I have that turned on right now. So you're going to see here that, and Tim did nothing wrong. I just used him as a sample. I deleted his comment. And so I can still see the deleted comment. And so this is nice if I need to have a conversation with Tim and say, okay, Tim, what were you thinking when you made this comment? I can do that. And so you can keep that turned off. And then just when you want to look at the deleted items, you can turn it on, because only teachers can view deleted items. So if you're going to use Google Meet for your online meeting platform, you can go ahead and generate your Meet link here. And then you also have the ability to either set that link visible to students or not. I tend to use it more as an assignment. I will just add the link to an assignment and say, here's our Google Meet, and I'll give it as an assignment rather than have students be able to access it at any time. But that's how I structure it. And then finally in our settings, we have the grading. And so this is one of those things that is fairly new in Google Classroom in terms of you have some options for setting up your grading structure. So you can do an overall grade calculation. And so you can either do no overall grade, you can do total points, or you can say weighted by category. So I'm going to pick on weighted by category just for a second. We can use show overall grade to students, yes or no, so that can be turned on or off. But then we have our grade categories. And so you're going to notice that, like right now, I've picked weighted by category. And so I'm going to say a test is worth 50%. I'm going to say a quiz is worth 25%, and then I'm going to say homework is worth 25%. And I just obviously made that up, but now I have 3 grading categories that are going to be a percentage of my grade. I can also come back around and I can just do points, and so now I have my test is 100 points, my quiz is 25 points, and my homework is 50 points. So I can set it up that way too. But so you can set up grade categories with the default points, and that makes your homework life so much easier. So just so you know, that is an option, and I really do appreciate that. So now that we've looked at all our settings and we've changed our settings, you do have to save it in the upper right hand corner. Otherwise it doesn't work, just like when I didn't save the assignment. So that is our settings. Next, we have notifications. So notifications are over under the hamburger menu, and they are settings under the hamburger menu. And so this is settings not for your class. These are settings for your overall Google Classroom profile. So when we're looking at this, you'll see you can set up that you want to receive email notifications. And so this is an on-off. And this is something when you're working with students, I would definitely say you want them to receive email notifications, just because that'll be one way that you can communicate with them when new homework is posted, etc. I currently only see classes that I teach, but if I was a student, and so when you guys look at your notifications under settings under the hamburger menu, you will see an option for students too, to be able to see what's posted there. So you can have all of these items be turned on so that you will get an email when this information is shared out. If you are a co-teacher, and so this is for special ed, this is for anybody that happens to be a co-teacher. A lot of times the librarian will be a co-teacher. If you are a co-teacher, you may want to turn off notifications just because you do not want to get all those emails. The nice thing here is you can also turn on and off by class. And so this would be where if I was a co-teacher, I would go through and I would turn off probably everything except for the classes that I am actually the main teacher in, so that I do not get all those notifications. So your class notifications gives you notification. You can pick what classes you want to get notifications for. The notifications are what you get notified about. So those are your two different options for notifications. So that's a lot. So what we've looked at so far is we've looked at notifications and your settings. And I do have a couple of resources here for you for notifications, like how to do it. But then also, and that textbook has really great resources, but he's also been having a lot of website problems the last week. So yay, we're back. So he goes through and he has some really great notification, like how to manage them. And so this is one of those things that I encourage you to dive into them a little bit more if you have questions or you wanna know more. So using this Ditch That textbook is great. So now we're going to look at archiving and copying classes. So first we're going to talk about how to get to your class page. And so I'm going to go back to the hamburger menu, and then I'm going to click on classes. And this is the page where I need to be if I want to archive or copy a class. You're going to see when I click on the three dots that I get an option to move, edit, copy, or archive. If I click on edit, this is another place that I can edit the title, but that's all I can edit. Where's the other place that I could edit the title? Do you guys remember? Chat me up. Settings, yes, you got it. The settings for your class is where you can edit the title. So yeah, two places you can edit the title. All right. So going to look at copying, and so I'm going to go back to our instructions. When you copy a class, these are the things that copy with it. And so you end up with your title, section, description, the course subject, and so that main information. You end up with all your topics. You end up with classwork posts, but notice that they come over as drafts with no scheduled date. And then you also get your grading system. And so if you are teaching multiple sections of a content area, I would definitely make one and then copy it so that you don't have to go through and do all your settings and your topics, et cetera, and your grading again. All of that will come over. Things that don't copy over are teacher announcements, deleted classwork, those types of things do not come over. I want to look at copying one more time, and I want to kind of give a little bit of guidance. So when you do copy a class, and so I copied our Google Classroom class this morning, when you do copy that, you're going to see all the posts come over as drafts. And this is fine until you think about if you copied a class you used last year and you have a whole year's worth of posts, it can get a little unwieldy. And so I really recommend setting up a frame class with just your topics, with just your topics, with your grading structure, though in your settings, and then copying it, because you can reuse posts from other classes. And so it just makes it a lot easier than having, because if I wanted to delete this, I can't just click on it and delete. I have to go to the three little dots, which I've heard referred to as a skinny snowman, and then I have to say delete. And so I can't mass delete this. I can't, if I delete the topic, all it does is deletes the topic. It doesn't delete any of the assignments that are posted, I mean, and so it gets unwieldy quickly. So my recommendation is to make your frame, copy that, and then come back and reuse posts, because it'll get messy quickly. All right. So that is your copy. Now we're going to look at archive, because that's in the same area. So you can archive a class from the classes. We can archive a class. And so I have this demo class, take 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click on archive. I'll say archive. And so if I archive a class, what happens is students that are enrolled in the class cannot unenroll themselves because it's archived. But you aren't able to, the content is all there, but it is not on our main screen. To get back to your archived classes, you go to the hamburger menu and then archived classes right above our notification settings. And then you'll see that we have our archived classes. I can restore this class, which will bring it back, but I will not have my students in it. It will not, the students, it's kind of wonky with students. And this is how I can delete a class too. And so a couple of you had noted that you'd created, a class, before in a training. You can archive it and then delete it if you don't want it anymore. So that is something that you can do. So those are your settings and your notifications. And so what I'm going to encourage you to do right now is take about 5 minutes and just in your class that you created, and if you didn't create a class, use this time to create your class. In your class that you created, go through and look at what settings you want, what notifications you want, how you if you want to, think you're going to copy them, all of that. And so kind of think about, and in the chat, let us know what settings you chose. Did you set up grading categories, what notifications, etc. So 5 minutes to do this. I'm here, I'll answer any questions. Start sharing my screen again and give you some kind of what happens when students turn in work. So I am over in my K-12 drive where I have lots of different content coming in. And so one of the things, if I go to my shared with me, I am going to see all of the assignments. Let's see, am I not in my K-12? I am in my K-12, excellent. I'm going to see all of the assignments that anybody has opened or looked at. And so I'm seeing a lot of untitled presentations that people have created and stuff like that. And it just feels like, oh my gosh, this is so chaotic. The shared with me is truly just a filter, okay? And so it isn't really the organization of your Google Drive. So I'm going to go back to my Google Drive, and each class has its own folder. And so now that you've created Google Classroom, you're going to find a classroom folder that is automatically created in your files. You will also find that for every class you create, there will be a Google Classroom folder there too. And so when we go back and look at my Ohitica account, you will see that I have, for the demo classes that I've been creating, I've got a demo file for each one of those. So you'll also see, like this high school counseling, I'm a co-teacher in that, but I still get the file for that. So I'm going to go to Winter because I know there's a lot of content here. I'm trying to think, what did we have them? Okay, so the creating a Google Classroom, students turned this in. And so this was all stuff that was done on the 4th. So if I go back over to the shared with me and I go down to the 4th, I'm going to see an awful lot of that content coming in because that is what would be shared with me. So if you go to your Google Classroom and go to the name of the classroom, the assignment that you're looking at, you will see all of those files. And so that is something that, so now if I wanted to organize this, if I wanted to say, okay, I'm done, I can select all these files and I could move them to like an archive Google Classroom or something like that if I wanted to. But as long as the students are turning their homework in through your Google Classroom course and they're not just sharing it with you, then while it'll show up as a shared with me, it will be actually organized in Google Classroom. Does that help you, Susan? Because that is a really great question, and that is a big frustration. And Tony, Cody did chat you up. He said you were last signed in 3 minutes ago, so. All right, so I saw lots of really great settings, which makes me excited. And so the next thing we're going to look at is organizing your classroom. And so these are the topics. So when we're thinking about organizing our classroom and what the topics look like. Okay, good. Good, Susan, I'm glad. And so I think um, one of the things that has happened a lot, and another one of the schools I've been working with too, is we started out just sharing files back and forth and we weren't necessarily using Google Classroom. And so if your students are used to saying, I'm going to share this file with my teacher, then that classroom organization is really a lot more challenging. Google Classroom, if we accept assignments and turn assignments in only through Google Classroom, you will have a lot more streamlined experience. Karen L., Cody needs an alternate email address from you. If you could send that to him, he can get you reset. And so if you could send something that isn't your Ohitica email address to him, he'll be able to get you reset. All right, so topics. I love the options that topics give us. So when we are looking at our classroom for today, and I'll get myself out of my archives. And we're in our classwork. You're going to see that I have topics on the left-hand side of the page. And so the topics enable us to be able to organize our content. I've organized our content this week by what we're doing. So each day we'll have a topic to go to for the class. And so I don't even remember what tomorrow is right now, but I will tell you before we're done. So I can click on the left, I can click on that topic, and I can only see the assignments that are associated with that topic. So topics can be really integral for organizing your classroom. So I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to scroll on down. So I'm giving you two different resources, and this is something that I encourage you to, make some decisions now, but also stay flexible and say, this isn't quite working for me, so I'm going to come back and revisit it. So yay. So Ditch That Textbook, 3 Easy Strategies. He recommends using like dates, units, etc., etc. We'll see if he opens or not. Ugh, sorry, you guys. But so he suggests that you use weeks, units, topics, etc. as you organize. Shake Up Learning, Casey Bell, also has quite a bit of information about organizing your topics. And I do like hers because she gives us a little demo. You can arrange for what will always be at the top. So I had your class. I had our most current class at the top. But if I wanted to do chronologically, I could say, well, Google Classroom Elementary, and then it's Google Classroom Secondary. I could do that. So I can rearrange my topics very easily, either by dragging and dropping or by 3 dots, and then I can move down. So as we go through Casey Bell's resources, I'm going to scroll down. She gives you 6 different ways to organize assignments. And so this is something that especially at the high school level, you guys have so many different options. So you could do by units. So you'll notice here that we are using, unit 1, unit 2, etc. There is no subtopic option. And so if you wanted to do something with subtopics, you would need to do something like unit 1, Civil War, and then another, and so you would have to really get granular in your topic titles. You can also organize by week. She notes that it can get really out of control after several weeks of school, but if this works, this is fine. You can organize by type of assignment, and so if you have your bell ringers, your daily work, etc., you can do that. This is more elementary, by topic area, by subject area. But then this is one that I do really like. You can add the today topic because I can easily move my content from topic to topic. And so I could say, okay, I'm going to move this up here because this is where it belongs, which it doesn't. But, I can drag and drop things around really easily. So I maybe would want to have a today topic and then come back and move them into the appropriate slot after we're done with it. You can also organize by learning target. And so if you wanted to assign numbers and letters, you can do that. Casey does talk about giving each assignment a dedicated number, and you'll notice that I modeled that in our work. So each assignment that you get will have a number so that I can easily say, we're working on 002. You can search that if I send you an email and say, this is the assignment you're missing, it's a lot easier to communicate. So we are using a consistent numbering system. she talks about how to package it so that everything is there. And this is where she talks about disabling the alerts in Stream. And so after I found it in the settings, I saw it here too. And I was like, I know that. That's so cool. And so you know that now too. You're so cool. And then this is one of those things that I hear a lot from teachers, and it's just Google doesn't do it yet. When an assignment is passed, it still hangs out here. It doesn't go away. If you don't turn it in, it'll just be here. It'll say it's missing, but it's just there. So there is nothing to clean up your classwork page. So if you want to use to create a topic for past assignments, that may mess up your organizational structure. But if you keep them numbered, I mean, you could technically just say past assignments and keep them all numbered. The only other way you can make an assignment go away is by deleting it. And so once you delete an assignment, the files don't go away, but like any grades associated with it, et cetera, do go away. So that is one of the drawbacks, but there's workarounds. So I just want you to know that. And then she talks about really going through and doing what works for you. So I'm going to give you a little bit of time right now to think about your organizational structure, because I do want to make sure that you've put some thought into that. And that is one of the questions that you have on your slides is, how do you plan to organize your topics, and what lesson numbering system do you plan to use? So go ahead and take just about 5 minutes to think about your topics and how you'd want to do that. Feel free to ask me questions in the chat or unmute and ask. I'll work to address them. So when we go back and look at the rest of the things, the stream, and so we've talked quite a bit about the stream in terms of what posts on the stream, et cetera, et cetera. Yep, we need to be more careful not to delete others' work. Yes, I mean, and that's one of the things we do, when we talk about collaborative, and that restore feature, it's like the beautiful thing is we're able to do the restore and go back and look at the version history and bring things back. And so we do have that capability. Where we ran into challenges right now is because we had another version, and we could have copied that and then pulled stuff in too. So there's ways we could manage that. So I'm back on, when you're looking at your assignment 1, we have this Google 001, the Google Classroom, setting up your classroom. That's the handout with all of the instructions that we've been following. So that's where we're at. We're on the stream right now. A Google Classroom stream is really great for you guys to be able to create conversations, post announcements, etc., etc. You can reuse those assignments or use those announcements. You can schedule them, and they can also have attachments. And so this is where, and I posted the reminders of what the classroom settings where you can, yes, if you have your notifications turned on, Joseph, yes. When I post something, it'll go to you. It does automatically go, yes. But you can turn off those notifications. And so this is where you'll probably want to give your students those expectations that they have the notifications on. And then if they do turn stuff off, you'll be able to say, hey, this is why. I mean, so it's on them, it's not on you. Classroom settings is where you can control what posts on the stream and who posts on the stream. And then that's also how you can control if the classwork notifications. And so the stream can really be a great way to build that community in your classroom. And so these are things you're going to want to think about as you set up your stream. Is, will you allow students to post? Can they comment? Do you want classroom notifications? And in your class, try a sample post and see what that looks like. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about classwork. And so because you guys have done some stuff with your topics, you've also done some things in your classes. The assignments is where you can make, you assign what you want the students to do, and that's also where the students turn their work in. And this is where I really want you to pay attention to what I assign you looks like, and then also what it looks like from the teacher side. Because you're going to see when we look at this assignment, when I'm looking at it, if I look at the instructions, it shows me the instructions and everything is kind of all in one spot. So if I pop over to me as a student in another class, sorry guys. If I pop over to me as a student in another class, I will be able to show you how much different it looks. And so I'm going to go to a class, and I'm going to go to my classwork. And here, you're going to see the stuff that's blue is stuff that has not been turned in yet. The stuff that's grayed out is stuff that I've turned in. I have no control over being able to rearrange its stuff. I can click in it, but that's all I can do with it. So I'm going to scroll on down and look at this assignment, because this assignment, oh, and it tells me it's missing. It had a due date and it's missing. I'm going to view the assignment. So when I look at this particular assignment, for this group, I actually assigned this work out, and so I made a copy for every student. So you're going to see here that there is work already here. I didn't create that work. This is something that shows up. So it looks a lot different from the student side than it does from the teacher side. And so when you have work attached, you have the turn in option. If you don't have work attached, so let me go back. Let's see. Something without work attached. I think this one doesn't have work attached. Yes. So when I look at this, oh no, it does too. I'm sorry, you guys. Something without work attached. This one does not have work attached. Okay, so this one does not have work attached, and in the assignments I do not make them do anything. I can then click mark as done. And so for what you guys are doing today, you will see mark as done as the assignment for today's assignment, because the work you did was you created your class and you edited the slide and you took the screenshot and answered those questions collaboratively. And so you have nothing to turn in, you have nothing to add or create. Its mark is done. So that's a difference that, as we go through, I will give you an assignment to make sure that you either add or create your own file, or you have a file assigned to you. I've made a copy for each of you. So just so you know that the class work is going to look different depending on what you as the teacher do to assign it. All right, popping back over to our resources. So let's go in and look at setting up our classwork. So I'm going to do a demo assignment, and then we're going to actually look at the different options. So in my class, in my classwork, I am going to, you know, Kevin, that's a great question. Can you create a student account for yourself? As far as I can tell, the Ohitika domain does not allow you to like join with your personal account or join with another account. And so you're not going to be able to create an account for yourself to see the classroom as a student. This is where you either utilize a colleague to be your partner in this, and they're a student in your class and you're a student in their class, or you utilize your own students as guinea pigs and say, okay, one of my coworkers used to do this with her first period class every day. They were her guinea pig class. She'd be like, okay, we're trying something new today. And so just, you know, tell the kids, we're all learning, we're all in this together, and, you know, let me know if this doesn't work. So like you guys let me know today, which was great. So, okay. So I'm going to create an assignment. And so when you notice that create an assignment, you have a lot of options there. Reuse post is one that I do want to make sure you guys are, as long as you have prior classes, you can reuse posts, but notice I can also reuse posts from the class that I'm in right now. I'm in the Google Classroom Eagle Butte. So I could reuse a post from this class. Why would I do that, you say? Why wouldn't I would do it for a lot of different reasons. I would say, you know what? I love the format of this 001 Google Classroom. I'm going to reuse that post and I'm going to edit it accordingly. And so I would make it 004 probably, because that's the next number I see. I would change the wording, etc., but the format would be there. So you can reuse posts that are even in the classroom that you're currently in. So reusing posts can be a huge time saver. It can really help you with that consistency. If you're like, I struggle like remembering exactly what I did. So that's a nice tool. Material. We'll start at the bottom here. Material posts are just that. They are, you give them the title, you can put in a description, you can add a Google Drive file, a link, a file from your computer, so you can upload something if you have it on your computer, and you also can add in a YouTube video. What if you have a video that isn't YouTube? You can just link it. And so as long as you can get the link to something with this link here, you can link virtually anything. You can also create, and so like say you don't have anything and you want to create your class syllabus, you could go in and create a doc that is your class syllabus if you wanted. So if you want, you can do either one of those. Over on the right-hand side, you're going to see we have very limited functionality because this is just material. There isn't anything to do with it. And so demo, you have to have a title, otherwise you can't do anything. In our material, in our topic here, this is where I can assign something to a topic. So this is huge because I can also create a topic, like say I do want to have class materials. I can do that. And then I can, and if you do no topic, what happens is the classes or the assignments just float around at the top of the screen or at the top of the page like this class. And so it's not very well organized. So if you do no topic, this is what it looks like. It's just stuff that falls at the top of the screen. So everything else is under topics. This stuff is my no topic stuff. Obviously you see me do as I say, not as I do, or something like that. But you guys, I do a lot of on the fly. So if you ask me a question and I'm like, oh yeah, we can do that. That's kind of how that works. So back to our classwork material. I can control, so this is in my demo, this is in the class for you guys. I can either assign, I can send this material to all three. And so this is great for like science. If I have 6 sections of science, I can do my lab procedures. I can send out, I can make my materials for lab procedures. I can assign it out to all the classes in one fell swoop. This is great for those things that you're repeating over and over again. I can also only assign it to a handful of students. And so when you are, you can do differentiated. So if you only want a small group of students to look at it, you can do that. So when I'm done with this, I can post it, or I can click the down arrow. I can save it as a draft. I can schedule it. And note when you schedule, I can get down to the minute. And so, or not, yeah, the minute. Though I can't make something go away. And so I can schedule something to show up as soon as class starts, but I can't make it disappear when class ends. All right. So that is material. So I'm going to close out of that, and we're going to create a question. I love the questions because this can be a really great way to do a super quick check. It can also be a way to encourage, like if you want the students to watch a video and then answer a question, you can do that. And so when you post a question, you have to post your question. You can give instructions. We can add anything, again, like the video, the document. We can create something. So now I can either do short answer for this question, or I can do multiple choice. And so obviously multiple choice, I'm going to have to put in my options, option 1, option 2, etc. If I do short answer, it gets to be a little more interesting. You're going to see that I can make it so students can reply to each other, and students can edit their answer. And so we can do, we can make this a conversation. And the nice thing here is students cannot see each other's responses until they've answered. And so I will post a question for you guys just so that you have that opportunity to play around with that. But I'm going to show you what a question looks like from the student view, because it is a little different. So let's see. Here's a question right here that's got the question topic. This is me as a student. And when I click on view question here, you're going to see that I posted a video and I said, what's the main point of the video? And so you're going to see that this is where you type the question in, is over under the homework. And so it can be confusing because we see class comments here, and that's where I could ask a question about the assignment or have a discussion about the assignment. And so with this, your question is posted over here. And then once I post my question, now I can see my classmates' answers. And so this is where, like, I posted a video and then people answered the question. And so that was essentially how we did that. So that is a real quick way to use the question option. And you can control, you can say that the students can't respond to each other, or they can't reply to each other. And so then you don't have that conversation either. So that's a question. Then we have a quiz. And so we're actually going to go through and look at forms on another one of these days. And so I'm not going to talk about quizzes in detail right now. I am just going to point out that when you click a quiz assignment, it's going to bring up a blank quiz. If you have a quiz or a form in your Google Drive already, you can add it. You do not have to use their blank quiz. You do not have to write a new quiz every time. So you could delete this and add another one and you're fine. So just, that's the only thing I'm going to talk about that for today. And then finally, an assignment. So this is kind of the catch-all for everything else. So you'll see how I've used assignments this week is I tend to use it as a way to give you some sort of activity, but also give you resources. So when we look at any of the assignments for the class that this class, you're going to see that I'm going to have some instructions. I'm going to frequently give you guys links. I'm frequently going to give you guys Google Drive files. And so that's how that will work. You can put as many resources on an assignment as possible, but you do have to realize that trying to keep it packaged in a way that your students can follow along with is really important too. This is where, when we're doing an assignment, is where the rubric comes into play, and we will look at rubrics and how they work and how you can do those. And this is also where I do not have grading topics set up, but this is where your grading topics would come into play too. So that is kind of a quick and dirty on assignments, so you can see exactly, just your different options and can play around with that if you want to. So quick question I see is when you're done, if you're done with that Google Slides, the collaborative slides, if you've already made your slide, and some of you may have made it twice, I'll give you a thumbs up for that. If you're done with that assignment, you can go into your classwork for this class, and you're going to see that it tells you you can add a private comment if you want to the teacher, but then mark as done to submit the assignment. And so what you will do is you'll click that mark as done when you want to submit it. So I'm going to give you guys about just a few minutes to ask me more questions or work on your slides, et cetera, and then we will switch over to office hours. So this is a great chance to work on your homework.